Welcome to the podcast, Andrew. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Thanks, Juan. Hi, I'm Andrew Zukoski. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Join.
Can you tell me about Join? What does Join do?
Yeah, Join's a software company. We build software for managing pre-construction and the design phase. And so we work with contractors, owners, and their design partners to get projects from concept through to something that's ready to sign a final GMP and go out into the field.
And what is a problem that you're trying to solve with Join?
Yeah, one of the key problems is just around informed decision making. So my background is not in construction. Like so many of the people that you're going to have on this podcast are like people who felt a pain in construction and then realized technology could solve it and they set out to solve it. That's not our background. My background's in software engineering. I come from technology. My first job was over there doing customized medical devices for a 3D printing company. And what we realized coming to this, which was sort of a surprise from the outside, is the degree to which like the built environment around us is shaped a project at a time by an owner, an architect, and a contractor sitting around a table in a room, trying to puzzle through complex information in order to make the hundreds and thousands of necessary decisions that are going to impact the owner's outcome, and the profitability and business of every stakeholder who's involved in executing that job. They have to do it based on not a lot of information a lot of the time, and they're under intense time pressure to make those decisions and move the project forward.
And every project is as if they've never built before.
Yeah, every single one's a prototype.
Nothing that they've done before is used in the new project.
And it's the owner. At the end of the day, for us, it's all about the owner's outcome, right? Like the built environment is the platform for substantially all social and economic activity. And most owners are not sophisticated builders, right? If they knew how to build it in the first place, they wouldn't need to build it.
Builders aren't sophisticated builders either.
I might not go quite so far as to say they are the most sophisticated builders that exist.
That we have,
yes.
but they're not that sophisticated, but they're the most that we have.
Yeah, much more so than owners, where there's this huge volume of education that has to happen of the owner, of where their project is, what the alternatives are, what the paths are for them to take it forward. So.
And then in the design phase, what is broken?
Yeah, so we work primarily in the United States market, but doing some work in Europe these days. It goes back to the original sin of design, bid, build. And it has created an environment where design is done in isolation, right? There's this great, like if you go to the AIA website and you're like the phases of design, you've got, conceptual, schematic, design development, construction documentation, and construction administration. Like in that worldview, construction is a phase of design, which is like, yeah, right? I can see your face this is upside down.
So is design a phase of construction?
Yeah, we think that design is a phase of construction. And I think if you look at project delivery method trends, the industry is moving to adapt that. You can either say design is a phase of construction or design and construction are phases of development. Those are the two options. Construction is not a phase of design. And like the builder has to be there, soup to nuts, providing constructability, cost, and timeline feedback as a design is developing, if you're designing for an actual outcome to the owner rather than designing to pass risk off through a hard bid, low bid.
So you're saying that the contractors onboarded too late?
Historically, the contractor has been onboarded far too late. That is changing. You can see it in delivery methods, the rise of progressive design builds. There's more and more TVD projects, more and more IFOA projects. Even in the world of CM at risk or CMDC, builders, our partners, are engaging earlier with owners to provide that like really critical perspective in the earliest phases of projects. However, and this is where Join comes in, there's not good technology to support that. There's good technology out there for design, bid, build workflows. There's project management tools and there are design tools. But there's nothing that lets all the stakeholders come together in a way that lets you get through that like really critical design phase in a cost-conscious, schedule-conscious, constructability-conscious way.
So you're saying that the paradigm of project delivery is changing and the tools that we have on the market are built with the previous paradigm, not the new paradigm?
Yeah, precisely.
Okay. So because you didn't start in construction technology, what made you choose construction technology and pre-construction in particular?
Yeah.
How did you get all the way here?
How do we get all the way here?
Yeah.
First was falling in love with the built environment, and I don't know that there's a sector that's like more impactful you look at carbon emissions or I think of really specific buildings, and like a recent one for me, I'm an uncle now. I've got a nephew. He's doing great, but he was born like 12 weeks early, which is very early. And for a while there, the quality of the care that he got was very important. And lucky for him and lucky for his mom, they both ended up at a hospital that one of our partners actually built in the Denver area. And I've spent a fair amount of time in that NICU now, and like, boy, those are complicated projects. Like this was actually a project that was really innovative. It was like one of the first uses of like prefab head walls, and like for good reason. There's like dozens of systems like running through that, and they really matter. And so for me, it's experiences like that, walking to Sagrada Familia, seeing like the joy that can happen there, or I spent some time in Singapore and coming to understand some of the projects there, like Jurong Island or the Fusionopolis, where like a real vision for the built environment has lifted up like not just a single life, but like an entire society. And so for me and for the founders at Join, it comes back to that like built outcome. Like we believe that the built environment is just critically important to society. And that's what we got here. How do we get to pre-con? We got to pre-con with open ears. Like I have not been a pre-construction manager. I work with a lot of people at this point who have done pre-construction on every project you can imagine, but I have not done pre-construction myself. And so we had to learn our way to the importance of pre-construction. And when we were starting the company, it came down to asking about pain and asking where there were problems. And this led us to this changing area, this area impacted by shifts in project delivery method and shifts driven by builders engaging in a much more proactive way during the design phase and during pre-construction.
So who are the typical users of Join?
Yeah, great question. So we work primarily with general contractors and CMs. They, for the most part, take us to projects. There are some owners that we work with directly, and there's a wide range here. Like we don't work with contractors who specialize in like linear construction or like solar, utility scale solar installations or something like that. But outside of that, there's a pretty wide range. Here around San Francisco, like 3 miles over the hill that way, there's a new hospital going in for UCSF. It's the Helen Diller Hospital. It's a 8-year, $3 to $5 billion project that's running all their decision making on Join. There's hundreds of people running around coordinating this intensely complicated, infill hospital project. So we see a lot of work like that. Parkway Construction is sort of at the other end of the spectrum in terms of the type of project where Parkway Construction has been utilizing Join to both collect and then make available during this pre-construction phase, historical data that they have about a range of projects that they're doing. And they do a lot of much smaller, retail projects, the places that feed you, like on the side of the highway as you're driving across America. So they're using Join to guide that process as well and leverage historical data. And then third, I would say, are general contractor organizations who are looking to standardize the pre-construction design phase across the organization. Where there's we are observing with our partners, there is a transition happening where in the olden days, pre-construction was estimating and bid management, and it was a quick turn on a fully developed set of plans that resulted in work won and work not won. And now it's a much more extended process. And firms are leaning in and realizing that they need to bring the level of operational rigor that they have in the field to the pre-construction phase. And so we're working with Bryan Companies is a great example, a partner of ours who's using Join as a vehicle to standardize and lift up the owner experience and pre-construction operations across their 12 or 20 offices nationwide.
What kind of outcomes do these people get for using Join? Yeah,
great question. There's like a range. Like a great one we got from the Helen Diller was around meeting times, right? Like there are, you've said it on these meetings, there are a lot of people in these meetings, and what they tell us is they're able to cut them in half. Because when you have the data at your fingertips, when you're able to understand it, when people are prepped, like when it matches your concept of the universe, you can speak to each stakeholder individually, you can answer the questions, you can make the decisions, and like get in and out a lot faster. Others tell us they spend a lot of time saving. There's a lot of time savings in preparing for the meetings. And others tell us that there's this lifted up owner experience, that you're able to convey the value that's being brought in the design phase of pre-construction, where that work is often, like it's sort of sad. It's like some of the hardest, most contested work. It's really hard to do design phase and pre-construction, but there's less to show for it at the end than a steel structure coming out of the ground or like finishes being put in place or something. And so with Join, people are able to convey the level of service they provide to their owners, potentially during the pursuit process, and make them feel good. Soup to nuts.
And would you say that you're helping create a process for design phase? Because what I would say is that most people don't understand what they need to do in design phase.
Yeah.
And the three parties, the owner, contractors, architects, may each have their different views of what they're supposed to do in design phase.
Yeah, we would hesitate to say that we are creating the process. Like we're here in DPR's office. We've had a long relationship with this company. They are definitely a leading builder when it comes to design phase. They're the ones who taught us that instead of design dictating cost should inform the design. It's something that's like really core to how they how they build and how they engage. And that's true for a number of companies that we work with as design partners. I would not say that we are creating process, right? We are technologists. The software can be a good partner in enforcing and encouraging good process. And what is interesting is we are sort of catching the industry at a wave where firms are looking to bring process to it and define it and iterate and be intentional about it. And so joins a vehicle for that. We think that the tool has been hammered on by leading builders across the country, and so we think it does represent and help encourage good process. But I would not say we do not invent process. That's not our lane.
Okay. What's your vision for the construction tech space in the next 5 years?
Yeah, the 5 years. Okay, really precisely 5 years. I think and this is a little self-serving. It's aligned with our worldview, but a lot of the technology that's out there, like even if it's a web-based tool, you log into it by going to mycompanyname.whatevertool.com. And it's because a lot of the technology that's out there is built around solving a single stakeholder's problems. It solves the problem of a trade contractor needing to collect, material quotes like more efficiently. And I don't mean to say that those are not worthy problems to solve. However, the fundamental characteristic of construction is it's highly networked in nature. It's very fragmented. Every project is unique. Every project has different needs. And so we necessarily have these different specialist stakeholders who are able to take on portions of that project, whether it's a design scope or an engineering scope or an actual installation or fabrication. And so I think the transition, what I'm excited about, where I think we can get to 5 years from now, is not having digital tools that serve one stakeholder at a time, but having tools that really truly serve the industry as a whole. And that are places where people can come, they're able to connect to other stakeholders, they're able to hold their data, they're able to leverage their data. When they're sent data by their partners and their stakeholders, that accrues and becomes part of the shared intellectual property, of that firm. But it's not off in its own firm silo. You have to have technology that serves the industry instead of serving one stakeholder at a time.
So more collaboration.
Yeah.
True collaboration software.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of impact do you want to have in this industry as you're building out your company and working in it?
Yeah, thanks. I'm sort of stumbling over my words here, but we believe there's an opportunity to have a huge impact around how substantially all commercial construction goes through the design phase, right? And if we succeed, you get projects that are cheaper or delivered faster, and where the people that are delivering them have a smile on their face. The ways of working that stem from design bid build methodologies are really hard on all the individuals that go through it. And we think that we can enable the industry to build awesome shit and have a great time doing it.
Okay. So when you first got started into construction technology, there weren't a lot of startups. Now there's a lot of startups. Do you feel that there's not enough startups in construction technology or too many startups?
Well, they all try to take brain cells from the people that we want to talk to. So yeah, they should all go home, definitely. It's interesting. Construction is really complicated. Buildings are really complicated. There are all these different stakeholders. There are all these different workflows. All these things need to be modeled digitally. Someone should charge at all of these things. Who am I to say that someone who wakes up and says, guys, daily reports, I'm all in on solving daily reports from the field, I'm going to wake up and charge at this. Who am I to say they should go home? At the same time, our partners tell us that they're drowning in point solutions. That there's fatigue both at the individual level and then at the company level for the number of different solutions that they're juggling and the number of different vendors that they have to manage relationships with. And so, I don't know. Ask the.
Maybe you're thinking that there's too many shallow solutions and not enough deep solutions that really get to the root cause.
Yeah, that might be fair. Yeah.
But you don't think that there's enough people really solving the hard problems, the truly root cause problems?
I think the construction industry matters, and the more the merrier, as far as coming in to solve, the hard problems of it.
Besides what you're working on, what are some ideas that you're excited about in this space?
One of the things that we're excited about, and we're not working directly on it, but it's sort of adjacent to what we do, is opportunities around like technology-driven service offerings, where going soup to nuts, there are all these points and places where like you need someone with some specialist knowledge to come in and either provide a check on someone else's work, like it's a third-party plan review or constructability analysis or like what have you, or scope sheet development. And there's this interesting like group of companies that, I'll shout out Current Sets and Roger, that are looking to bring a very technology-forward way of delivering that service to the set of problems, but still offering it as a service. Because it's one of the things I've observed is it's much easier for the construction industry to adopt a service that sort of fits into the bill of goods that every project is going to buy anyway. That if I offer
a product
that you're going to have to adopt and will be paid for out of overhead, and are we going to like it every time? Like that's a higher bar than like, Dawn, I'm bidding the drywall scope and I can deliver it 10% cheaper and I can deliver it faster, more reliably than anyone else. And so I think in the technology side, there's a number of these service offerings that may be amenable to that, and it's going to be exciting to see if.
So you're saying that there's not just software as a service, there's actually services as a service. Means that it's like software-enabled service. So a company uses software or AI and takes on the work of the architect, the plan reviewer, the engineers, or specialty designers that would already have been taken by somebody already, but they're just using technology to augment their capabilities or their deliverables.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So what role does AI play in pre-con?
Not enough. There's like a few ways to look at it. We think about it in terms of 3 levels. The first is like feature level enablement. Like, you know how every meeting you do on Zoom, get or Teams or whatever, you get like a summary of it. Like we just sort of expect that there's a summarization feature anywhere that we're looking at text or recording or something. Like we use it to automatically tag things inside the system. Like a lot of what happens in pre-construction is you have all these stakeholders that are throwing things at you, and there's this typically a pre-construction manager, sometimes a different title, who has to channel that information and organize it in a way that it can be made sense, that the owner can make sense of it and the other stakeholders can make sense of it and act on it. And at the feature level, AI can help automatically tag this stuff. It just saves people time in going about their jobs, and that's great. Second level is around being able to automate more of what's going on, and so there it tends to cross different systems. It might be there's some point solutions. I can't speak to adoption on like the takeoff side that I know people are looking at, but I think some of the technologies that are emerging around like you're talking to data grid in a bit, but like the model context protocol that allows end users to connect workflows and data across multiple tools. I think that's really exciting. I think there's a lot of promise there in pre-construction, because so much of pre-construction is research, is finding something relevant, tracking it down, and then collating it with the other information about this project that's progressing from concept through to ready to build.
Or even searching past projects.
Yeah, searching past projects, searching the internet, searching other systems you might be doing. I mean, we talk about a project in pre-con, but everyone is telling us that every project is fast track. Like precon's not a phase, is what some of our other customers say. It's a collection of activities, right? And it's because there are huge benefits to projects from being able to fast track and overlap activities. Like if I can start digging the foundation before I finish the finish schedule, because the finish schedule isn't going to change the weight of the building, and so the foundation can be locked and ready to go. And that allows me to deliver on that owner outcome that much faster. However, it means that you have more activities and more systems in place because you're going through pre-construction, and at least part of the project is often operations running in their systems. And yet, in order to understand where the project is and guide the owner, you have to tie information across those two systems.
So you're
So both
you're-
past and current.
You're not
projects.
doing pre-construction before construction. You're doing pre-construction with construction
Yeah.
because everything is just more chaotic, faster paced because owners want it faster.
Yeah.
So now the work becomes much more chaotic than in the design, bid, build world.
Yeah, you have a lot more overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that. I think there's the potential for it to become more chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it necessarily does. I think if you deploy join well, I think if you deploy practices well, like it actually is not chaotic, but there are more stakeholders, and it is a much tighter, more iterative thing. And there are more systems that you need to pull information from at any given time. But I don't think it's necessarily more chaotic. It could be, but
It could be more chaotic, but it also could be better if you have better collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your vision for the better future of this industry?
Yeah, I mean, one, we like bring people into the trades and augment them with technology so we can deliver on the built environment. I think that one of the reasons I'm happy every day I wake up and I'm working in construction is that largely through the trades, construction is like the engine of the middle class. It's where, with will and skill, you can create a small business out of a clipboard. And it's an industry that serves people everywhere they are. It's not like we're here in Silicon Valley, we're in San Francisco more properly, where a huge amount of the tech industry is. If we improve the technology industry, we've made life in Northern California really easy, and that's great. But if you improve the construction industry in some way, you've improved every community across the nation. And I personally find that very inspiring. But I think a key part of that is labor availability in the trades and the tools to realize the potential of every tradesperson. And then I would say it's an orientation around owner outcome. I think in construction projects, the owner is the sun. It's the source of all energy. It's the source of the eventual purpose of the building. And the owner's interests are not always going to be convergent with every stakeholders. I mean, there's fights over price and profitability and so forth. There's tension built into the system and the commercial relationships. But to the degree that we can align each stakeholder's interest and execution with the owner's outcome, I think it spells better outcomes for owners, better outcomes for communities, better outcomes for the businesses that serve those owners, and better outcomes for and experiences for every individual who contributes to these amazing construction projects. So.
What are some uncommon truths that you figure out from your experience in this industry that others may not be aware of?
You're probably not going to, have terrazzo in your finished project. It's like a really specific one, but one of the things that's interesting that we're able to do is we can spot trends in decision making, and it's clear that people stumble over the same problems in every project. If every time I'm talking to someone who's in facilities at higher ed, no matter what we're talking about, we're going to take a moment to explain hey, next time you're building something, you don't need copper electrical feeders. You can use aluminum. I'm going to save you a week of your life in delaying the project so that you can learn that aluminum is fine on that level.
Do you flag that in your software when they go into a trap?
Yeah, we're starting to do some of that, both flagging and then highlighting sort of common paths, just so it's one that what the uncommon truth. It might be everyone, and I think this is an uncommon truth, but everything around us comes down to an owner, an architect, and a contractor sitting in a room trying to understand a project and make decisions that are going to move it forward. And if you can, that's contentious. Money's on the line. Careers are on the line. People, not necessarily a high trust place. To the degree you can take hey, this is what's normal, and move it from something that one person has to say, or it might be riddled with emotion, and turn it into something that's an objective fact that a system presents. You just make everyone's life easier. So I would say the other uncommon truth, besides some of those details, is just the primacy of the OAC meeting. That's where it all happens. That'll surprise me.
So this is the very last question. In the next 30 to 60 seconds, can you tell the audience one or two takeaways that you want them to have from this conversation? What should they remember from this conversation?
Yeah, design is a phase of construction. We call it pre-construction in many cases, but design is a phase of construction, and it should happen in a fashion that's integrated with cost, integrated with constructability, and integrated with schedule feedback. Join as a software platform that can help deliver that to every project owner around the country.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew, for the excellent interview.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.